Are you winning? Do you need help in your life or business? Could you use some inspiration, business strategies, and success principles? I'm Daniel Gomez, award-winning business coach, keynote speaker, and best-selling author. On the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, we will help you create a successful life and elevate your business. Together, we will discover the keys that unlock your success and dreams. Welcome back to another episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, where we motivate you, we inspire you, and man, we're going to educate you today. I'm excited for today. I'll tell you what, we got a veteran in the house, and I don't know what it is, but God has me in all these veteran places. I was just in Norfolk, Virginia, had a huge speaking engagement out there, and then I was on this amazing rock stars podcast, and then he's a veteran that I didn't even know of. So it's like God is doing something I can't even see. So I'm honored and privileged to welcome Paul McFadden to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. How you doing this morning, Paul?
My brother Daniel, man, it's great to be here with you. I'm so excited to be on the show with you as well.
Man, well, first of all, thank you for serving our country. Thank you for being. You were a Navy veteran, Marine, and you know I love what you represent. And do me a favor, to take a minute and just introduce yourself to the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show, if you don't mind, my brother.
All right, great. Good afternoon, my beautiful humans. I'm Paul McFadden. I always say beautiful humans. And I'll share a story with you about that afterwards. But Paul McFadden, you kind of shared that I was in the Navy Reserve. I was part of the U.S. Merchant Marines. I've been former military, IT guy, father, grandfather, son, all those things. I got a lot of labels, right? But I kind of look at it like I am this energetic spiritual being having a human experience, right? And we're having this human experience together in this time, in this place right now. And I like to focus on the now because everything that we've ever experienced leads to right now. And there's a reason why you and I are having this conversation. And I'm able to be here to speak in front of your audience right now. So I'm very inspired and certainly honored to be here in this space.
No, thank you for joining us. I'll tell you, I was blessed to be a guest on your podcast, and we just jived and connected. And first of all, man, you're doing a lot of great things, and I love, every time I ask somebody who's successful, they seem to have some military background to them. And for me, I believe it's the discipline part. I think so many people, right? Whether you're a mechanic, whether you're a beautician or a lawn service, you leave the title of that as an employee, and you want to start a business, but they don't have the discipline that a military soldier has. And how has just the training you received in the military helped you to really get going what you're doing? Because you're doing phenomenal things. How important was that training you received from the military and what you're doing right now?
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful question because as I sit there and reflect upon it, we had a motto I went to the United States Merchant Marine Academy, and our motto was active nonverbal, deeds, not words, right? So say what you mean and do what you mean, right? Do what you say. And we learned the ideals of integrity, honesty, hard work, dedication, loyalty. Like these are terms like when you think about going to the military, whether you're a Navy guy, Marine, whether you're in the Army, Coast Guard, whatever, that is those words that were instilled and ingrained in your brain from the time you went through boot camp to the time that you graduated from boot camp and then served in whatever the capacity was that you did. And because of the hierarchy, because of the structure, and because of the discipline that were required in order to complete all those trainings, but then also to execute on the things that you do, those become really important when you start looking at entrepreneurship. Because entrepreneurship, as so many of us would tell you, that this is an opportunity where you can set your own schedule, you can bring services to the market the way you want to bring them, you can provide products, you can do all the things you want to do. You're in complete control. Without the discipline and all the other things I mentioned, you cannot
Mm.
be successful. And many people think, I'm just going to go into business and I got a great idea and I'm going to do this thing. And then life happens around you, or a kid
Yeah.
gets sick, or your car breaks down, or whatever happens. It's life, right? And there's always going to be change. That's the only constant we can depend on. But
Yes.
do you have the ability to be adaptable to your
Yes.
situation, right?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we tell you get out your pen and get out your paper, right? You got to get out your pen, and I got a paper right here. You got to get out your pen and get out your paper and take some notes because Paul's going to drop some massive wisdom throughout this episode. And remember, what you write down, you retain over 50% of it. And I want you to go back and look at your notes. Go back and listen to this episode again because we're going to go in deep today, just really on what is discipline? What is discipline in your business? What does discipline in your life look like? And it breaks my heart, Paul, because you think all these businesses start, right? You have 90 business, would you say 100 businesses start, and 50% of them are going to be out of business within the first year. And then
Mhm.
within the next 5 years, another 50 are going to be out of business because, and the thing is, the discipline, like you're saying, they believe that entrepreneurship is going to Starbucks and let me get my laptop out and look cool, but they don't have any revenue going in. And for me, I got my discipline from the automotive industry, right? We opened a month, we closed a month, we opened a month, we closed a month. So I was used to doing that. And now when I go and do some business coaching and they show me all the stuff they have in the shoebox still and people still do that, I'm like, and you wonder why your business is in chaos? How,
Mhm.
what were one or two disciplines that really that you brought from the military that you've have really honed in to give our viewers just some wisdom that they can apply to their own business? What would say two things that you took from the military that really have helped you?
Two things. I'm going to say integrity, and I'm going to say failure,
Mm,
right? And so here's what I here. So I'll talk about the integrity part first, right? You know, no one appreciates a person who does not do what they say, right? You only got about two opportunities to not follow through, not keep up your end of the deal before someone deems you as untrustworthy, right? Or make promises that you know you can't keep off for the sake of a sale or the sake of getting a new client. Um, as soon as someone deems you as not having integrity, all bets are off, right? Trying to get trust. And people, I mean, and people, when they do business with you, it's because they trust you. They trust that you are going to give them the outcome or give them the product at the quality, at the highest quality possible, particularly whatever you've promised them, right? So are you keeping your word or are you not keeping your word? And that was one thing that the military certainly taught that to me, but I also learned that from my grandfather. My grandfather used to
yeah,
tell me, he said, the only thing that matters in your life is your word. So be careful about who you give it to, because when
yeah.
you do give it, you're going to have to follow through. And
So
so,
good.
right,
I
so those are
love
the
that.
things.
I love what you're saying. When you said that, I think of the book, The Four Agreements. I've
Mhm.
read that book like 3 or 4 times, and one thing that it says there is one of the main agreements is be impeccable with your word.
You got to be impeccable with your word, right? And that has served me in many ways. So when I promise people something, and I don't promise very often, and I'll tell people a story. I'll share the story of my grandfather. I'll share the story that's something I learned from Colin Powell. When I had a conversation with him when I was 21 years old. Um, your word is your bond, and
Uh,
if you walk out of this world with anything else, with nothing else, with just one thing, have your integrity with you, right?
yeah,
Because that's the legacy that you're going to leave. Right. And then many times people don't worry about legacy in the beginning. When we're younger, we don't think
yeah,
about legacy. We just think about how much success we're going to have. Yeah, but as we get older, we start thinking about what's been the impact that I've made on other people. And as much as we don't care about how we're going to be remembered, because we know that in 10 years, 15, 20 years, 30 years, people won't remember anything we did, right? We'll just be another person who lived and died. But if you're out there trying to make impact, your integrity
yeah,
is what's going to help your legacy live on. So
yeah.
that's one of the more important pillars or yeah, cornerstones of
And
legacy.
and what comes to mind for me is when you say that, like, but we do a lot of, right. We really invested thousands into our DGE publishing this past 2 years.
Mm.
We branded it, relaunched it, And when you said that, I think about, right, we have authors that pay for books they started 2 years ago, and now they're just finishing their book, right? Because it
Mhm.
just, they go through imposter syndrome, they go through that, whatever it is they're going through. And I said, you know what? There's no expiration on your contract. Like, I'm not going to give you a year. And when you say that, I think of some people that I've dealt with in the past. When I did my first couple of books, it's like, well, you got a year to finish your book. And sometimes life happens, and being integrity is, yeah, okay, you know what? The contract says you have a year, but
Mhm.
I'll extend that, right? If there's a good, reasonable cause. And I tell people, one thing I love is when we do our events, it's like, you can't make this sticker shock. We're going to bring you to another sticker shock. Don't worry, you're
Mhm.
not going to lose your money. And it's not like you're going to one of these big movie theaters or 10X, and you know what? You paid for this one. You lost it,
Mhm.
right? Like, how have you woven integrity into your business, as far as, like, if you can give us one example of that?
That's it's one of those things for me. It's like it's all the time. Like I never say
Yeah.
anything I don't mean. I'm very honest with people and transparent. And even when I talk about what I do, and I'm the CEO of Evolve Human Potential, and we integrate ancient science, spiritual alchemy, and modern research into how we help individuals become better human beings, right? And they find more balance emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, and then consciously. And I tell people that this is about the human experience, and that we're not infallible, right? There's this expectation that we're going to be perfect. And when I'm explaining to them what the process looks like, I'm very clear about what the outcome is going to be. I don't tell people that, hey, you know what, you're going to join my incubator and you're going to be enlightened, in 6 months, or you're going to have this transcendental experience, and then you're going to be floating on in the ether and turning golden, because you're now going to have self actualized. This is a journey, and this
Yeah.
journey is more about is where we point the compass, right? Self actualization is something that in reality that not very many people attain, right? We can subscribe to that belief system and aspire to it, because it is a journey. It's a marathon. It's not the race. Like we don't do it in a day. We do it over a lifetime by going through constant improvement. We all heard the saying, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? So
Yeah.
it's about understanding that I have to align with the innate purpose of why we're here as human beings. And that really is to grow myself, and then in some ways give to other people, whatever that looks like for me, whether that's through education, whether that's through training, whether that's through coaching, whether that
Yeah.
is providing opportunities, but sharing the wisdom that I've gained,
Yeah.
and then giving that back to other people so I can help them become better if they utilize that information, right? Because it's not just about having knowledge. If you're
Yeah.
not applying the knowledge, then you just have a bunch of knowledge. What are
Yeah.
you doing with the knowledge, right? And
Yeah.
that's the other piece of that. You asked the
Well,
second the
well, well,
second piece.
I love what you're saying. So, ladies and
Mm,
gentlemen, think about this, ladies and gentlemen. This is what I heard Paul say here is, right? He's under promising, but he's over delivering. He's under promising, he's over delivering. He's not promising this big old facade. He's the description of what he does is honest and integrity, and then he over delivers on that. And I think so many entrepreneurs out there, Paul, they over promise and they under deliver. So, ladies and gentlemen, I
mhm,
want you to write this down. Where in your business are you maybe over promising and you're under delivering? Because it's going to affect you at some point. You can sustain it maybe for 3 months, 6 months, maybe even a year, but at the end of the day, if your description of your services, of the products that you're doing, like Paul's saying, is not accurate, it's going to come back. And
mhm,
you got to understand that as the owner, right? I had to take accountability on many things. Like today, we had a, I don't want to say it was a $6,000 mistake, but it was the miscommunication, right? You're at events and people are signing up, and well, I thought I was getting that, right? Do you want to be right, or do you want the customer to be happy? And I said, you know what? Just, it is what it is. It's just, I mean, it's on the paper. It wasn't represented right. Hey, there's 500 people there. You're busy. It is what it is. It is what it is. Just give her what she assumed she heard. Because if
Mhm.
not, it's like it's you build your reputation up to a certain extent, and it's like things like that. That's what I heard you say. So really think
Mhm.
about that, ladies and gentlemen. What are you writing down right now that you need to be really say, okay, am I really being a person of integrity when I'm describing my products, when I'm describing my services, when I'm describing what I'm going to do for the end user, which is your client, right? Because if the description is misleading, then it's not good. And I love the way you say that. And then also ask yourself, right? Maybe where do I have to start over delivering on this? I just finished reading the book, The Go Giver, Paul. I highly
Oh
recommend it. Ladies
yes.
and gentlemen,
Mhm.
go get it, The Go Giver. I've read this book 4 times already. Like it's a short book, like a 3-hour book, but it really opened my mind to think like, man, there's some things that Daniel needs to change in his business because even though you're reaching levels of right, maybe you're at 100,000, maybe you're at half a million, maybe you're at a million, but that next level is gonna it requires a different level and service of business. And I'll tell you what, Paul, that book just really opened up my mind to be like, Daniel, there's some things you need to implement in your
Mhm.
business.
Absolutely. No, I love that. I love that. It's one of those things that if you can master the art of doing that, of being of under, not really under promising, but certainly over delivering on what you say you're going to do, that's where you build loyalty, right?
Mhm.
Because people know that you'll go above and beyond and go the extra mile to make sure that they have been served or serviced, or whatever that looks like, in a way that's integrity, not with your own personal values, but that it resonates with them, and they're able, as one of my colleagues will say, you create a win-win, right?
Yeah,
If they're winning, you're winning, right? And so you're creating a scenario where they win. And sometimes that means that you have to do a little bit extra. Sometimes, not all the time. But you might do a little bit extra, and you want to make sure that you set the expectation and you manage those expectations throughout the process, so that people know. You can always change and pivot direction if you're
yeah,
communicating, right? And if you're level setting on expectations, but most people don't want to communicate, and
yeah. No, you're right.
they don't want to communicate. And you'll be surprised at what happened if
No,
you
you're
if you
you're
say
you're
you
right.
come to a business owner and say, hey man, this is let me just tell you the truth about what's really going on, and I might be more inclined to work with you because
Well, I'm laughing
right.
because we were here in our corporate office yesterday, and Miss Salazar stopped by, and she was a dentist. She's now a financial planner,
Mhm.
and she's like, you know why I'm here, Daniel? I'm like, why? She goes, because I reached out to you on Messenger. You didn't text me back. You called me. Like you asked me for my number. She goes,
Mhm.
you know how amazing that was that people just get in the habit of texting. And
Mhm.
even though that is one form of communication, you got to communicate to your avatar, right? To your client. And
Yeah.
she goes, I'm here because you called me. And I'm like, I'm a big believer, right? You can't, right? You cannot get the right communication through a text message as you can through a phone call. So
Mhm.
that's why I'm because it's true. You got to like there's a deeper level of communication when they hear your heart, when they hear your voice, when whether
Yes.
it's through a phone call or through Zoom. Like I love
Yes.
that, right? You have to communicate even more. You have to be more intentional because everybody has their own perception of what you're saying through the text, and you're like,
Mhm.
well, that's not what I was saying.
That's not what I was saying. People can't hear intention when they see words. They don't hear the intention, and they don't know the value. They don't know the value of your heart, right? They don't know where you're coming from an authentic place. So I mean, I think it's just
Mm.
we have to be able to do that. Um,
Say that
you know,
again. I love that part. Say that again. I haven't
well,
heard
I
it.
just
The,
say,
the the value of your heart. What does that mean? Like I
yeah,
love that. That sounds.
yeah. The people when you talk to people, they can hear the value of your heart. Like, because what happens is, if you are doing something, well, number one, if you're doing something that you love, right, and you're passionate about it, that's going to come out in your words and the way you speak about it. That's the first thing. But if you truly care about the person that you are doing business with, they're going to feel that, right? It's so the value of your heart. It's being genuine. It's being authentic. Is there's no shifty, shystiness about how you're approaching this individual. You're approaching the individual with integrity, again, right, and honesty. And
Yeah.
so, and that shows when you're coming from that place. When you're trying to be manipulative, in trying to coerce someone to do something, that shows too. And as much as people don't think that individuals will pick up on it, they do, right? And we make mental notes. We say, I did do this thing, but you manipulated me into doing that. And I'm going to remember that. I'm going to remember that. And I'm also going to tell people too, even if I stay, right? But usually when you have that type of situation, it's never a good connection. The values don't align, and that's when you see turnover with clientele. Obviously depends on the business, right?
Are you an aspiring speaker? Do you have a book that you've been wanting to write for months, maybe even years? Or are you an aspiring podcaster? You want to start that podcast like the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show and don't know where to start? Well, at Daniel Gomez Enterprises, we can help you do all three. We can help you become that paid speaker, share your story to the world, write your book, and get your podcast launched and help you produce it. We'd love to help you. Give us a call at 210-663-5954. That's 210-663-5954. We can help you become that paid speaker, write that book, and launch your podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Give us a call now.
So let me ask you a question. I love what you just said, right? So when is it? Because I love what you said. On the flip side of that, I truly believe though sometimes people need to be pushed to believe in themselves, right? Because the truth is, many people don't have the confidence and belief that a Paul McFadden has to say, right? You know what? I'm gonna bet on myself because I got that military training in me. How do you yourself, how would you say you softly push somebody? Because not that you're manipulating somebody, but sometimes you got to be like, come on, man, like you can do this. Because everybody, I just talked about this on a podcast that I was a guest on. Right? It's like I don't reason, I don't have excuses, and I don't justify. And I think for me, I take that a little bit more to heart because when I started my business, my wife had stage 3 breast cancer, double mastectomy, 3 major surgeries. Like, and that's when I started my business. And when people use excuses or justify or reasoning, I'm like, you don't want it. How do you approach somebody like that who really needs Paul McFadden, but maybe they don't see it for themselves?
Yeah. It's such a delicate balance because on one hand, you're dealing with the human psyche, right? So we have to acknowledge that in the room, like every individual is not going to see things like a Paul McFadden or a Daniel Gomez sees it. You have your experiences, I have mine, and so one thing I have an understanding that I cannot superimpose my experience on this other individual, right? I can't superimpose any of that. Nobody went through the things that I went through, just like nobody went through the things you went through. But I'd meet the person where they are. And when you get people connected emotionally to their reason for why they want to do something, and that's really, and that's a dance. You have to know how to have a conversation and tease that out because people, they know the reasons why they want to do something or why they don't want to do something. And you can't just stop with the first question, right? You know what, I explain all this to you and what do you think? I mean, that's first of all, that's a very poor question to ask somebody. What do you think? I mean, they're going to tell you all the things they're thinking. But it's like you need to get down to the
That's why I
why.
love you. We think, we're kind of so different on the way we our outer show, but inside we're exactly alike. You're like, I say, don't ever say, what do you think when after a presentation? What because they're gonna tell you, well, Paul, I want to think about it, right? Like you ask
Yeah, exactly.
you ask a dumb question, you're gonna get a dumb answer.
You're getting a dumb answer, right? And so you need to ask the question that's going to get them thinking about what they feel and why they feel that way about what it is that they want. They got to connect to it. They're not if they got to be connected to it. So you got to. So one, you got to know how to connect with people. First and foremost, you got to be connected to the person, right? And if there's no connection, the conversation is not really going to go very far because they're always going to be in that in any kind of a. I'm doing it physically, but metaphorically in a defense posture. They're prepared for the thing to say no or whatever. They're prepared to do the rejection or to ward off because they already feel like you're coming at them with something that you're going to try to make them do. And so your connection with an individual has to be authentic. And we have to be authentic, empathetic, and compassionate. And so what you're getting at is the compassion piece because compassion means I see you. I understand exactly what your experience is and what you're going through and what you're dealing with. But I also see the potential that you have within you. And I can see that your mindset right now that's getting in the way. So let's talk about the reasons why, get really crystal clear on that. Because even though you might want to say no, why? I'm going to show you all the reasons why you want to say yes, because this is what I see about you. And this is what I'm feeling. Right. And so I turn it back into what they really want out of this thing or whatever it is that they're having a conversation with you about, and connect with that individual and show them compassion, because nothing is free in life. Things are simple, but that doesn't mean they have to be easy. That doesn't need to mean that it has to be extremely hard either, but there is effort involved, right? And if you really care about your dreams, you're going to put a little bit of effort into achieving them or working towards them, because nobody's dream just
Mm.
drops out of the air. I mean, nobody just. I mean, I have yet to meet the real person. I know people talk about it, but I have yet to meet the real person who had a dream. They went to sleep and yet they woke up the next day and they just had it, and they did
Yeah.
nothing to get it. I
No,
don't. I've never seen that.
it's definitely going to cost you something. You know, I love the conversation we're having because I think people need to hear this in the cost for their dreams, for their vision. We just have this, right? I mean, we're having our Sticker Shock Speaking Academy here up in March, and this gentleman called us. He called us on the Facebook ad, local gentleman, great conversation, and but he's scared to commit.
Mm,
And he's in leadership, right? He's a leadership of a nonprofit, and I said, can I tell you something that I feel like it's in my heart for you? He's like, what's that? I said, don't you go out there and tell your people that, hey, believe in yourself, take action. He goes, yeah. I'm like, if you believe in this, then why are you not practicing what you talk about?
mm,
I
mhm,
said, the truth is this is there's a mental block that you're not facing. There's a something that's not keeping you. And I go, I'm not being ugly, but I'm just this is what my heart feels. I go, you're not being a person of integrity because you're not doing what you tell your people to do. Simple as
mm,
that.
mhm,
And he's like, well, fine. I said, hey, I understand it. I said, but money is always an issue if you don't have any money, or money is always an issue if you make it an issue.
mm,
But the question is, right? I'm not telling you to pay $20,000 a day. My question is, what can you invest if you really want to come?
mm,
And what breaks my heart is when men, right? When when you're the patriarch of your family, right? And no disrespect
mm,
to women, but then they say, well, I got to go talk to my wife, right? And
mm,
and then this gentleman said it like two or three times. I'm like, bro, like, come on, man, like that's not you're not being genuine with yourself. Like there comes a point in your life where if you really want it, you're gonna have to invest in yourself, and it's
mhm.
gonna cost you even more belief than what the belief that got you here is not the belief that's gonna get you over there.
That's right.
And at some point you have to invest in yourself even more. I go, look, I go and then that this happened to me, and then I want to get your perspective on this. I was just in Denver. I met this other gentleman goes, oh yeah, like I just invested $5,000. Like I go, how long ago was that? He goes, oh, it's been a couple of months. I said, brother, if you believe that you're gonna invest $5,000 and your dream's gonna come true overnight like that, you're crazy. I said, let me tell you, that 5,000 you spent, that was the first of probably 5,000 that you're gonna spend. I go, it's gonna cost you more than 5,000. Your dream's gonna probably cost you 1 million by the time you're in with it. And he just like, I said, look, no disrespect to you, sir. I hear what you're saying, but I'm here to help, right? What happened was he was coming and asking me all these questions about speaking, and he was just like vomiting what he does, and I'm like, you know what? Great. I said, hey, I'm here to help you. I go, but if I'm gonna take the time to talk to you, right, and sit down with you, like I don't know you, you don't know me, but if you're looking for advice, have the respect to listen. And I
Mhm,
said, you know what? I said, I'm not your guy. I said, you know what? Obviously, you want the microwave answer, and I don't have that for you.
mhm,
So, and I think to what we're talking about, like, ladies and gentlemen, you need to understand that not everybody's your customer. Like, not everybody is your customer. If somebody's looking for $200 book publishing, I'm definitely not your guy. If somebody's
mhm,
looking for an overnight success, I'm not gonna lie to you. It's gonna cost you something, like you said. And it breaks my heart that people want something for nothing. And what I mean by that is the fact that they're not even willing to invest their time, their heart, their belief in their dream. They think it's going to happen, and like you just said, you're not going to go to bed and wake up, and it's not going to happen that way. It's not going to be there.
It's not going to be there. You know, I was reading this article, and it's funny because I just posted this thing on Facebook yesterday, as a matter of fact, and it was a research that was done, and they posted in Psychology Today, and they said 92% of people never achieve their goal in life. 92% of people never achieve their goal in life. That means only 8% do. 8% take action.
Wow.
Put some strategies together, take action, and execute on their action plan. And they attain what it is that they've had a vision for and had set a goal for. And that's some really telling information. I mean, obviously the things that get in the way, money, family, job, education, kids, we can go down the list. And those are the things that get in the way. But we invest time in ourselves. Okay, what can you invest in? I can invest time in my personal growth right now. Great, do that. You know, maybe you don't have the money, but can you attack one arm of the thing that might be holding you back? And maybe it's like you said, a lot of times it's mindset.
Yeah.
There's a million books we could read on how to shift your mindset. Pick one, right? Get it for free. I've seen book drives where I've seen books on exchanges like, oh, well, that's a really great book, and it's in the exchange. That's awesome, right? There are things that we can be doing to invest in ourselves, but it's anything that we've ever wanted. This is the kicker. This is what gets other people when I say this too. Anything you've ever wanted in life, where you put enough attention and intention behind it, you received it. Whether it was a brand new car, whether it was the house, whether it was a job, a dream job, whatever it was. And people will do that, and you just manifested that thing, but they don't apply it to other areas of your life. If you have a dream to be an entrepreneur, you have to put attention and intention behind that. And that's an investment in yourself. If nothing else, an investment of time. And you have to shift your mindset in order to believe it. I mean, so if you're doubting it, imposter syndrome, if you're doubting it, then you got to change your mindset. And you should be doing everything you possibly can to shift the mindset. And the world, if you don't, the world's gonna reinforce your belief system that you don't deserve to be there. The world's gonna tell you every single day. You gotta prove it.
I love that. Yes. You know what came to mind with what you just said? Ladies and gentlemen, write this down. Like pause right? Like say that saying again one more time. You have to put intention.
Anything you've ever wanted in life, anything where you put enough attention and intentionality behind it, you got it.
Yes.
That could have been a car. It could have been a job. It could have been a house. It could have been a relationship.
Your wife.
Right? Exactly. You put all the time and effort into that and got it. Great. You authentically wanted it, and you put a lot of attention there, and your intentionality was very clearly communicated, and you got what you wanted because you executed on that plan, and you were relentless until you got it.
Yeah.
Why not this?
I love that. You know, this is what comes to mind. Ladies and gentlemen, write this down. You have a lot to do with what happens to you. Mm-hmm. You have everything to do with what happens to you. And more importantly, ladies and gentlemen, what Paul's saying is you have everything to do with the results you obtain in your life and your business. Bottom line, you have everything to do with that. It's not the economy's fault. It's not your ex-boss's fault. It's not your ex-wife's fault, your ex-husband. It's not your employee's fault. It's like you know, so I think so many times we don't realize, I don't think people do it intentionally sometimes, but you still play the victim. Mm-hmm. You know, I was having a call with a family member this morning, and I'm like, you're playing the victim right now. Like, let's just stop this conversation because you're not listening to what we're talking about. So it's good, but people don't realize they're doing it. Mm-hmm. And I think when Daniel finally took accountability for Daniel at a deeper level, because there's different levels of accountability. Because the first thing people say is they get defensive. Well, I'm taking accountability. I believe in God. I pray. What no one says you're not. but there can always be, to Paul's words, more intention to prayer. There could be more
Mhm.
intention to taking accountability. And for me, I say that because I thought, you know, we make the mistake. Well, you know what? I've been successful drinking wine these past 6 years, having mixed drinks at mixers. Like, there's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with me. But it's amazing when God really challenged me to, when my friend Joy called me and says, your next level of business, God's asking something of you. I'm like, well, what is it? He wants you sober for 6 months. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm refusing to change here, but I want to go here
That's right.
because I'm not changing here. I'm here. So am I going to give this up to get here? And most people think like, no, like, but my excuse was this in my mind. Well, I've had a successful business for 6 years by God's grace. I'm good. I think clearly, but I'll tell you what, now that I've been sober for over 3 months, it's like, it's amazing how much more clarity comes in. But I
Mhm.
had to take responsibility for Daniel. And I think that people make excuses for themselves because they say, well, I'm already doing that. Well, great. Paul and Daniel ain't saying that, but imagine if you did a little bit more, 1% more every single day.
Mhm. And like you said, and with intentionality, what came to mind when you were talking about people not wanting to take accountability, and I was thinking about this conversation I had with someone, and we were talking about how we as humans are here to have this experience and experience all the emotions that come behind it. And some of that is pain, right? And some of that is failure, right? And we all have this fear of failure. You're supposed to experience that in all the love and joy and gratitude and achievement as well, all the things in between. But the thing is, when we experience pain or failure, we have to have the experience. We don't have to stay in the experience, right? You have to feel the pain, but you don't have to suffer. Like suffering is optional, right? And
Yes.
so now, and when we suffer, we're choosing to suffer. So once we have awareness around whatever the thought process is, or whatever somebody did to us, or what are all those things? Yes, if something happened to you and someone did something, or let's say the economy changed, yes, all those things happen and it did have an impact. However, now that you know that, what do you intend to do about it? Because if you continue to stay in the story, guess what? You're going to stay in the story because
Yes.
what your brain does, you repeat it 40 to 70,000 times per day. I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I'm a failure. I'm a failure. 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 Or the economy sucks. The economy sucks. The economy. Whatever it is, and you won't take action on the thing you need to do to turn the corner. But you want to blame the economy. But once you became aware of that, okay, what are you going to do in this new economy to adapt so that you can get positive results, right? And that means you might have to fail a couple times. Embrace the failure,
Yeah.
right? So as soon as you embrace the failure, you're going to be successful because you're going to make adjustments. So you're not going to do that thing again. You're going to do something different. And
Yeah.
but you have
Yeah.
to be like you said, you have to take accountability on a deeper level. You're accountable for suffering. You're not accountable for experiencing the pain. You're supposed to do that, or the trauma, or the suffering. You're supposed to feel that. Anything after that,
Yes.
you're held accountable for that because you know
Yeah.
now. You know exactly what the situation was. You know what's ahead of you. You could have this
Yeah.
life over here if you choose to do it, or you can choose to suffer. And that doesn't mean that you hit hard times and that you're not going to feel a certain way about it and it's not going to drag you down. You have an opportunity to grieve and have the experience, but don't live it.
Yeah.
You don't have to live it. You have it for 6 months,
Yes.
right?
I love,
But
man,
then
I love what you're saying. It's just, when you said that, I thought about this, right? It's like, we're not responsible for the traumas that happen to us. We're not responsible for the pain that happens to us,
Mm,
but we are responsible for our healing.
yes.
We're responsible for having those hard conversations with ourselves,
Yep.
and we're responsible for seeking help. Man,
Yep.
I'm loving our conversation, and we're getting ready to land the plane here. What is the best business advice that you've received? If you could give our audience a golden nugget of business, what's something that's really helped you have a quantum leap in your business, brother Paul?
I think it's the saying where we all have goals and desires and dreams. And if you are blessed enough to have a desire or a dream to start a business and actually get it off the ground, that's great. And you need to be very thankful for that and appreciative of that. But I'm going to say but here. I don't usually like to say but. You have to embrace the blessing that you were given. And, and what I mean by that is, if you're going to do it all the way. There's no, you can't put one foot in and the other foot out just in case it doesn't work. There's something going on with your belief system. If you're already setting up yourself up for the failure, and you're talking about catastrophic failure, you got one foot in, one foot out. It's either you're in
Yeah.
or you're out. And it's one thing to be all the way in and fail. Okay, you can do that, but you gave it everything you gotten. You have put in massive, massive action. You put in maximum investment. You invested in yourself. You put in your maximum belief system, 100% belief. This is going to work. If you got one foot out the door as you're doing this, two things are going to happen. Either it's going to take a lot longer than you thought it was, or you're going to fail. One or the other, right? There's not a lot of success that happens when you put half yourself into it. It's just like, having the conversation about, wow, I've gotten this far and I've been pretty successful. Yeah, but you could be so much more successful if you shift your routine a little bit and stop doing this one thing and give that time to this other thing. Well, I don't want to do that because I'm not living my life. Man, you could live the life of your dreams if you didn't do this for 6 months. Right? Imagine, folks that get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. People say you're crazy if you get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. You do the walk, you work out, and you meditate. You do all these different things, and you guys trying to act like you're better than everybody else. No, I'm just trying to do what works. And because when you start to discipline yourself, there's that word again, discipline. You start disciplining yourself to do the things that you feel might be hard. But then that means you have to cut out things that don't serve you. Like, align your routine. I would say align your routine or your rituals around the things that serve you. Right. That's the other thing I learned is,
I love what you're saying, because like today I was up at 4 o'clock today, but on Sunday I woke up at 7, close to 7, because I flew in from Denver on Saturday night. But my day was so off because I was 3 hours behind my schedule. But I had to, but so I love what you're saying. You have your routine, which is great, but sometimes too, you have to give yourself grace, because I came in late and I was there and I was like, but I was so off on Sunday because I'm like, I need to do this, this, and this. And I'm thinking like, shit, I don't got the time to do it. Right. In my mind, it's like, and I told my wife, I said, my mind's taking over. She goes, what's wrong? I said, I'm already behind schedule. It's okay not to go to the gym today. We're not going to do the gym. We're not going to do this. We're going to have a new routine today. But when you get into that discipline of success, it's automatically there, and it just carries you every day, where it becomes less work intentionally, where now it's part of who you are.
part
And
of who you are.
instead of looking for success, now you are success.
You are success. And I'm glad you made the distinction too, because part of that success is listening to your body, right? Listening to what's going on. And the routine is there to keep you in a framework or in a frame of mind so that you're focused. But obviously, you're doing business. You're doing all the things, right? And so you have to listen to yourself too. That doesn't mean fall off the wagon and go out there and go on a bender and do these things. I mean, we're not saying that. It's like, give yourself some grace, recognize what you've been doing and the work you are doing. And if someone takes a day off here and there, that probably makes sense. I mean, we don't need to be sick either, right? If you're not taking care of yourself, you can't serve other people. And that's a hard lesson for people to learn. And there's a balance with that. But if your cup is half empty, you can't pour into someone else's cup.
Yes.
Right. And not be whole. It's just going to take a lot more for you to recover. So fill your cup, then serve. Fill your cup, then serve.
Amen. What's a scripture or a quote that you rely on in times of adversity? A scripture or a quote that you rely on times of adversity?
There's a 5th century philosopher, Lao Tzu. And he talks about, I'm just going to kind of paraphrase because it's a long quote, but he kind of paraphrases it and says that mastery of others is strength, mastering of knowledge is wisdom, but mastery of self is true power, right? And that really just kind of speaks to me that we are the captain of our ship. We're the masters of our soul, right? We are the one that are in control and the guiding principle of our life. Like, so some people have, so there's a spiritual practice, right? And so for some people that's very religious, right? And for some people it's more contemplative. It depends on the individual. And I don't really care which one you subscribe to, but have a spiritual belief, right? And make it a strong belief in when you kind of ground yourself in that spirituality, you realize you have a lot of control in what happens with what your situation is. And so when I hear that, mastery of self is true power, I'm only trying to I'm not focused on trying to control anybody else. I'm focused on growing myself to the point where I am a better version than I was yesterday. And if I'm so blessed to make it to tomorrow, I'll be a better version of myself tomorrow. Right? So
yes,
because time is not guaranteed. So why not be the best version of yourself right now and stay in that moment? But if you make it to tomorrow, be a better version.
I love it. How do we get a hold of you? Somebody wants to connect with you, Paul.
I am Paul McFadden on just about every social media outlet, just to make it easy. I'm at Evolve Human Potential on YouTube. But yeah, very easy to find, and certainly would love for folks to reach out if you have any questions, thoughts. Hey, you want to have a conversation? I'm here.
And we'll have all of Paul's information here in our show notes. And thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. And Paul, thank you for just opening your heart, man, and dropping so much wisdom. I love you calm me down and you put me in a state of like relaxation. So it's like it's good, man. And ladies and gentlemen, if you want to become an author, and maybe you're saying, man, Daniel, I can't write a whole book. I have the solution for you. The Brain Changer. Volume 1 was an amazing success. We've sold thousands of copies already. We have The Makings of a Millionaire Mind, The Brain Changer Volume 2. If you had a dream of becoming an author and you don't have the capacity to maybe do a whole book, we want you to be one of our authors, one of our co-authors, where we give you the template, we coach you through it. It's all inclusive, and we want to make your dream come true of becoming a published author. And March 21st and 22nd, here in San Antonio, Texas, the Sticker Shock Speaking Academy, be our next success story. Joseph Peck left here within 2 weeks. He got his first $20,000 paid speaking engagements. I myself, I've made millions speaking. I want to do the same for you. Thank you so much for making us one of the top podcasts all around the world on Lift Notes and everything. We're so grateful. Without you, we wouldn't have this show. Until next week, we'll have another amazing guest. Paul, thank you again for joining us, and we'll see you next week on our next episode of the Daniel Gomez Inspire Show. This is Daniel Gomez Inspires, and thank you for listening to our show today. Please share this episode with a friend, leave us a review, and subscribe to our show. And for listening to our show today, I want to give you a free gift. I want to invite you to our Millionaire Mind community. Text the word millionaire, that's millionaire, to 210-942-5059. Yes, join our community today and receive millionaire affirmations, inspirational quotes on a weekly basis. That's 210-942-5059. Text the word millionaire today and join our community. And once again, thank you for listening to our show.